Gumball has been on many dangerous adventures, from being chased by wild animals to fighting on the wing of a plane. It seems like his life is in danger 24/7. Or is it? Because there are many times where Gumball is hurt to the point where he should be dead, but then miraculously survives. So in this video, we're gonna be looking at every single time that Gumball should have died, completely in order from season 1 to season 7, starting with the episode The Responsible. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin need to take care of their little sister Anais and prove that they can be responsible, except they aren't responsible, like at all, because they treat her less like a human and more like an animal, even putting her on a leash.
You know what this means? She must be hungry.
Eventually, it gets to a point where they try to force her into a diaper, to which she snaps and locks them outside the house. But she accidentally left the water running, causing the house to flood. So then, Gumball and Darwin have to save her. But they can't get out of the door, so instead, they use the chimney, which volcanoes them out of the house, and they hit face first into the pavement. Ouch. But surprisingly, they get up without a single scratch. Safe to say that in real life, falling from that high onto concrete would lead to anyone's death. Funnily enough, in the episode The Finale, they actually reference this with Anais saying,
"We must have fallen 4,000 feet straight onto the sidewalk and walked away without a bruise."
The next episode we're going to be looking at is the third, where Gumball and Darwin decide that they need a third friend, which eventually ends up being Tobias.
Hey, guys, I couldn't help listening to everything you just said, and I think you're in luck.
However, this ends up with Darwin and Tobias hanging out a lot together, without Gumball, with them even planning to play games together at Tobias's house. Gumball cannot let Tobias steal his best friend, so he rides a bike to Tobias's house to win back Darwin. Eventually, he reaches a bunch of hills, and after tediously biking, he makes it to the top and rides down the hill. However, he ends up going so fast that he basically turns into a human torch, getting engulfed by flames and flying all the way to Tobias's and crashing into the house. He should have 100% died here, because no one can survive A, being on fire to that extent, and B, crashing into a window at that speed. Up next is a quick one with the dead. Mr. Robinson stops his car before hitting Gumball, which causes Gumball to jump on the windshield and professionally thank him. Mr. Robinson just can't handle how annoying Gumball is being, so he pops the hood off his car, causing Gumball to be shot into space and crashing back down. Obviously, falling from space would lead to anyone's death, and not even from the impact itself. He'd probably just burn up in the atmosphere. In The Ghost, Carrie is jealous of Gumball being able to eat food because he has a body, so Gumball lets her possess him in order to feel the pleasures of eating. However, she takes this too far, turning Gumball into a human garbage disposal, eating anything she wants. This gets to the point where Gumball is so fat that he takes up the entire couch. Now, if you've seen the movie Seven, you'd know that eating yourself to death is a very real and very brutal thing. With how big Gumball got, it's pretty safe to say in real life he would have died from overeating. Next is the kiss. Granny JoJo visits and kisses Gumball on the mouth. This grosses him out so much that he kinda just disassociates. Darwin then tries to help him by taking him to his happy place, but this doesn't seem to work. So then, Darwin tries trauma therapy. This involves Gumball taking the leap of faith, basically a 1,000-foot drop with a trash can to break his fall. He doesn't think twice before jumping straight down into a garbage bag. A garbage bag is not a genuine way to break one's fall, or more accurately, should not be a genuine way to break someone's fall, because Gumball survives without a scratch. Now comes a less obvious one in The Picnic. Gumball and Darwin Darwin get lost in the Forest of Doom during a picnic trip. They get super lost and super hungry, since Gumball threw away their only food. This leads to Darwin literally eating all of Gumball's clothes off. They fight, make up, and after seemingly a very long time, they get to the picnic site and eat garbage. At first glance, you may not know what should have killed Gumball, but I believe that walking around naked in the middle of the woods, in the rain, at 12 years of age, would have probably killed him with hypothermia. And if that's not enough, he'd have probably contracted several lethal diseases from the waste food. Like, they literally ate out of Sussy and Tina's trash. Next is the goons. In this episode, Anais wants to be dumb, so Gumball and Darwin try to teach her, but she doesn't seem to get it. Eventually though, she cracks the code of dumbness. However, she almost gets too good at being dumb, to the point where Richard is spending more time with Anais than Gumball. So to prove that he's the dumbest, Gumball arranges a dumb race, where all the contestants are blindfolded. Gumball and Anais are racing against each other, until Anais realizes why Gumball is doing the event. She says that Gumball will always be dumber than her, and they hug. Aw, what a sweet ending. It sure would be a shame if...
I think we've outdumbed ourselves. Let's go home.
Ow! 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 Huh? Oh, the eyes!
So yeah, they got their bones crushed by a mobility scooter. Next is the secret. In this episode, Gumball is desperate to know the secret Darwin was going to say when they were locked in the bathroom. Gumball tries, and tries again, but it doesn't work. So Gumball then locks both of them in the bathroom and throws the keys away. Darwin finally says the secret.
Daddy. You know last week when you made me that sandwich and I said it was great? Well, it was just good. What?
But Gumball is unsatisfied, and more importantly, they're stuck inside the bathroom with no way out. So they decide the only way to escape is through the toilet. They are washed away by the tides of the sewage, mutilated by different water filtering apparatus, and then finally are put into a bottle. Most of us would probably be screaming in agony and die, but Gumball and Darwin are just fine and keep arguing like nothing's happening. Another quick one is in the Genius. In this episode, Darwin is sent off to a testing facility as he scored unpredictably high on the aptitude test. Gumball wants to join him, so he tries to study in order to also ace the aptitude test, but his brain gives up and just leaves. When his brain leaves, Gumball is still seemingly totally normal and conscious, but for everyone else, if their brain just left, they would immediately die. Up next is the wand, where Richard believes that a plastic wand that he found in the cereal box actually grants wishes, but it's actually just Gumball and Darwin doing it. Eventually, Richard uses the wand for bad deeds, and both Gumball and Darwin want to stop helping him, while also not breaking the illusion, so they plan to steal the wand back. However, Richard fights back and wishes for them to turn themselves inside out, which somehow they do. This is impossible to do in real life, but if it were a person, they would 100% be dead. The last episode of season 1 we're gonna be looking at is the curse. In this episode, Gumball's bad luck is at an all-time high, with pretty much everything going wrong. He gets beat up, electrocuted in detention, and realizes that he's ran out of luck for the day, and his luck will only reset by tomorrow, so he just has to survive that one day. But in detention, a Ruth Goldberg machine activates, causing the school to literally blow up, and Gumball to escape in a bucket. Eventually, he ends up on the freeway, having to dodge cars and other mishaps until he reaches a massive pit, where he thinks he can jump, but he completely misses and falls like 1,000,000 feet. Gumball luckily survives this, and actually is seen to have been physically harmed by the event, unlike almost all the other fatal events. However, there is realistically no way he could have survived that. He 100% should have died. Then there's a long stretch of episodes where Gumball does not get into any life-ending situations until season 2, episode 5, The Flower. In this episode, Gumball gets super jealous of Leslie after seeing him act friendly towards his crush Penny. The jealousy builds up until until it literally takes a mind of its own and possesses Gumball. So they go to Carrie and try to expel the spirit of jealousy, to which she sets up an exorcism. However, the exorcism goes horribly wrong and the jealousy breaks free. The spirit explodes, but just before the whole room gets destroyed, Gumball finds out that Leslie is Penny's cousin, and then the explosion reverses. Although the explosion didn't fully go through, it's clear that there was a blast, which Gumball is right next to, so he should have died. Up next is the phone. Gumball and Darwin get a new brick phone and try to connect with their friends. However, Gumball eventually gives up on this quest after only getting Ocho's number, but Darwin does not give up on the phone and then spends every waking minute texting Ocho. Gumball believes that Darwin has become a total addict, so he takes the phone away and sends a very rude message to Ocho.
Stop! I'm sorry, but Darwin isn't available right now, or ever again. Please, get a life, stop texting, and never call again after the beep! Beep!
Ocho then comes to their house to destroy them, and actually does so by shooting lasers at them. However, Gumball and Darwin survive because they have 3 lives like in Mario. But real life is not a video game, and no matter how hard you try to beat the stage, you'll probably still die if you get hit by a frickin' laser beam. Now we have the job. In this episode, the unthinkable happens. Richard gets a job, a pizza delivery job specifically, which is so unthinkable that the universe cannot handle it and will collapse. Nicole drives the family, plus Larry, to Richard's next delivery spot so that Larry can fire him and set the universe back to normal. When they reach the house, the universe gets really messed up, and Gumball's body gets absolutely warped and contorted. Now, I don't know about you, but if my body did whatever Gumball is doing in this scene, I would probably be dead immediately. Now, we have the Halloween. Gumball and Darwin get invited to a super cool ghost party at Carrie's house, but in order to see the ghosts, they have to drink this weird potion that lets them see. They are absolutely having the time of their lives and decide to drink the potion more and more until their spirits leave their bodies and they become ghosts. This is actually the first and only time where Gumball has canonically died. Literally all the other times he just gets into a fatal situation and walks it off, but in this episode he actually becomes a ghost. Some may argue he technically didn't die because he was able to go back into his body, but come on, he literally becomes a ghost. What have you ever seen in a live ghost? Now we have the Authority. Richard had a satellite dish fall on his head, which causes Granny JoJo to become head of the house and try to teach the kids to be safe. This mostly comes down to her just saying the opposite of what Nicole is saying. So when Gumball is crossing the road, Nicole asks him to look right, and Granny JoJo asks him to look left. This leads to him looking right and left in rapid succession, causing his head to split apart. This is probably the most gruesome injury that Gumball has ever had up to this point, and should have certainly killed him. Next, we have the photo, and this one might need a bit more explaining. In the episode, Gumball just cannot get a good photo for the yearbook, so he tries his best to get a good face. And I mean literally, as Gumball's face is like putty, so Darwin molds a nightmare version of Gumball's face. Now, you may argue that Darwin molding Gumball's face isn't lethal, but if you look at this shot after Gumball shakes off his mustache, his face is literally melting. I mean, come on, that 100% should have killed him. Then there's the lesson. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin get put in detention with a bunch of hoodlums. One of the hoodlums, Julius Oppenheimer Jr., asks Gumball and Darwin to get a bunch of random things, which they are able to do. They then see Julius escape from the classroom and escape school. Gumball and Darwin follow him and get to the roof, where they realize all the stuff Julius wanted was materials to make a grappling hook. They try to follow the instructions, but it does not work, because obviously they're trying to make a grappling hook with a rake. So they decide the only way to escape is jumping off the damn roof. So they do exactly that and miraculously survive. Now we have the tape. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin try to make a movie based off their lives. This includes recording the actions of some students in their school, and one of the students they decide to record was Ocho. They capture Ocho doing this weird movement sequence that leads to him getting powered up. Gumball then does the movement sequence on camera, and I can't even really describe it, except his code gets scrambled. Add another one to the count. Up next, we have the fraud. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin find out that Principal Brown's diploma is faked, and therefore, he isn't a legitimate principal. This leads to him trying to convince the kids not to tell anyone, even though they assure him that they don't care. This leads to Principal Brown trying to blow up the school for some reason, and he's about to do it until the teachers convince him that even though he is a fraud, he's a good principal. However, Principal Brown mistimed the blast, and the boiler still exploded with Gumball in the room. Now, we have the allergy. In this episode, Darwin keeps sneezing after a pillow fight. The sneezing gets more and more powerful as the day goes on, causing the walls of the house to collapse. The only solution they have is to bring Darwin to the desert, as there is no property to destroy there. Eventually, they make it to the desert, where Darwin asks Gumball and Anais to leave him so that they don't get hurt. Gumball will not leave him though, and stands right in front of him to get the full force of the sneeze. This absolutely rocks him with his skin stretching off his body. I think it is pretty obvious. If any other human had this tornado sneeze in their face, they would probably die. Now, we have the password. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin try to get in the computer, but Richard has a password put on it. Eventually, they get a password hint, favorite child. They figure that the favorite child isn't actually them, but Anais. The whole episode has Gumball and Darwin doing various dangerous stunts to try to get him to like them. However, it's revealed that the password was never Anais, and the actual password was just password. This means that somebody changed the password, and when Anais reveals that she changed the password, Gumball's head literally explodes. Next is the procrastinators. In this episode, Nicole tells Gumball and Darwin to take out the trash by the time she's back home from shopping. However, Gumball and Darwin would rather do anything but take out the trash. This includes making a whole song, doing self-portraits, and even eating themselves. Yeah, they literally ate all of themselves to literal nothing. So yeah, that's another point. The mirror is the next episode. In this one, Gumball and Darwin ignore a chain message that says a demon will attack them if they don't send the message to all of their contacts. In typical Gumball fashion, this turns out really bad, with the demon being real and following them back home. Eventually, Carrie comes to the rescue with a spell book, and so Gumball and Darwin try some spells, but this ends with Gumball losing his body, leaving just a head. Now, we have the Saint. In this episode, Gumball tries breaking Alan's perfect image, doing anything to try to get him mad. None of his attempts work, with Alan just smiling at all of it. Even when Gumball sells his parents, Alan tells Gumball that the secret is to just say yes to everything. But this leads to 2 deaths by agreeing to skydive without a parachute and for surgery that leads him all sorts of effed up. The final episode of season 3 we're looking at is the Society. In this episode, Gumball blames all of his problems on people, not on his antisocial personality, but to the fact that there must be a secret society. The other students, tired of him harassing them about the society, decide to make up a fake society to stop Gumball's psychotic actions. They say that one of Gumball's initiation rituals is to hit him with pillows, but Gumball misinterprets them and hits them in the face with a tray that pillows are on, destroying his face. However, this may not have killed him, but then his head falls off. Now, we have the return. In this episode, Richard cannot find the kids at home, so he retraces his steps and realizes that he left them in a ball pit at the mall. When Richard goes to find the ball pit, he is shocked to discover that it has apparently been sent off in a shipping container because too many kids were drowning in it. So to save the kids from either drowning in the ball pit or getting shipped to a different continent, Richard tries to stop the shipping container from getting to the dock. He's unsuccessful, but when he goes to the dock and is able to use one of the cranes to get the shipping container back onto a truck where he drives to their school, then Richard smashes the container against the school building, causing Gumball, Darwin, and Anais to be flung out all the way to the pickup spot. Just as Nicole comes to pick them up, I'm pretty sure that being stuck drowning in a ball pit inside a shipping container would have probably caused Gumball to die of asphyxiation. But if that's not enough to kill him, when Richard smashed the shipping container with the kids inside into the school building, that should have probably done the job. The crew is up next. Here, Gumball and Darwin are in awe of the senior citizens, Marvin, Betty, and Donald, and want to be a part of their crew. They try many different strategies to get noticed, but none of them work until they just ask, to which they accept. In order to look the part, Gumball and Darwin try to prune up their skin by covering themselves in sugar and letting them bake in the hot sun. This leads to them crisping up, literally until Richard licks their crispy outer layer. In real life, this definitely would have led to them getting some sort of skin cancer, and at age 12, with no money for medical bills, this probably would have led to a slow, painful death. But there is still a chance of survival or them not getting skin cancer. But later in the episode, they jump off this high ledge, causing their bodies to break into a million pieces. So if you aren't satisfied and think that Gumball would survive the cancer, then shattering like a vase should definitely be enough to kill him. The upgrade is up next, and in this episode, Gumball and Darwin get an upgrade for Bobbert, which gives him a better camera and a new HD screen, but it also causes him to lag like hell and basically become dysfunctional. So Gumball and Darwin take him to the Bobbert store, where they hand him over to be repaired, when really they just give them a new Bobbert and send the old one to be scrapped. Gumball and Darwin take the new Bobbert to the cargo plane, where they're holding old Bobbert and break the door down, causing all the stuff inside, including Bobbert, to plummet to the ground. Gumball then jumps off new Bobbert and skydives to get old Bobbert. He's eventually able to fix old Bobbert and fly off to safety. While this scene is very cool, in reality, Gumball would have landed splat on the pavement and turned into a pancake. The Apprentice is next, where Gumball tries to impress Penny's dad by helping him with a presentation for a new hospital. Well, I think helping is a bit of a stretch, as he kinda just annoys him for the entire day, and at one point traumatizes him. When both of them are in the elevator, Gumball messes with his DNA and becomes a horrifying beast. This would probably, no, certainly lead to his death. The bus is the next episode. Gumball and his friends are going to school when their bus is hijacked by their parents to try to teach them a lesson about skipping school. However, the whole fake hijacking and robbery was actually a real hijacking and robbery, because Rob had manipulated all the parents into doing this. This leads to Gumball and Rob fighting until the wing of a plane cut through the bus, which ends up with Gumball and Rob battling on the wing of the plane. But in reality, Gumball probably would have been sliced in half by the plane wing. Now we have the slap. In this episode, Gumball sees that Tobias's new thing is slapping everyone's butt. However, when Tobias talks to Gumball, he does not slap his butt. This leads to Gumball getting extremely jealous and trying numerous times to slap his butt, but none of these attempts were fruitful. So he decides the only logical thing would be to corner him on the roof. So he has no choice but to spank him. However, when Tobias gets on the roof, he lets the door behind him close, which locks both Tobias and Gumball on the roof for the entire weekend. This meant that both of them had no food or water for 2 days, which should have killed them, but there's a chance they could have survived. But when they disassemble their bodies to create a help message, they definitely would have died. The theory is the next episode, where one of Nicole's old rivals, Yuki, returns to Elmore and tries to fight Nicole. She tries to make Nicole mad in many different ways in order for her to fight her, but she just doesn't budge until Yuki blackmails Nicole with her job. This leads to them having a massive anime fight with their kids watching in the gym. This causes the gym to fall apart and a bunch of rubble to fall on the kids, which should have killed them, but somehow all of them survive unscathed. In the scam, Gumball, Darwin, and Carrie scam all of the students in the school by saying that Gargoth the Devourer is hunting them, and the only way to get rid of him is to pay Gumball and Darwin to vacuum him up. Now, Gumball thinks that this Gargoth is just a fake story that Carrie made up, but it actually turns out to be real. The only way they can destroy him is to feed him all the candy that they scammed off other students, which leads to him blowing up and covering them in ectoplasm. Now, I'm not an expert in demon exorcism, but I think that literally getting covered in it would be fatal. Now is the final episode of season 4, The Disaster. In this episode, Rob uses his universal remote to mess up everything in Gumball's life. This leads to everything and everyone Gumball loves to turn back on him. Rob reveals what he's done, and this leads to a massive fight between Gumball and Rob, where Rob opens the door to the void with the remote, and Gumball gets sucked in. Gumball knows that the only way to reverse everything that has happened is to get the remote back, but he's in free falling, causing him to barely be able to touch the rewind button on the remote. This causes the day to rewind, but in reality, there's nothing underneath the remote, which means that Gumball wouldn't have actually been able to press the button, and he would have probably fallen to death. The rerun takes place immediately after the events of the disaster, when the day is rewinded and Gumball has to stop Rob before he messes everything up. He's able to defeat him and ejects him into the void, but then he realizes that's a bit too extreme, so he goes to rescue him. When he does this, well, Gumball hits the ground a bit too hard, multiple times. The test is up next, and in this episode, Gumball takes a personality quiz and is upset to find out that he's the loser. In order to change this, Gumball holds back all of his insults towards the other students, which makes him more likable. However, unbeknownst to anyone, Gumball's insults are literally like venom that he needs to excrete out, because if he keeps them to himself, the insults will poison and kill him. By the end of the episode, he is in totally rough shape, and you can actually see him vomit out all of the poison he's kept inside of his body. And yeah, he should totally be dead. Now, we have the slide. In this episode, Rocky tries to get a new girlfriend with the aid of Gumball and Darwin, which leads him to get the Trawler app. The app basically works like Tinder, but whenever someone swipes right, you literally get ejected and flung into the air. Eventually, when they find Rocky's sweetheart, she rejects them and swipes up, leading to them getting flung into the air through the roof. Yeah, he's totally dead. Next, we have the loophole. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin try to reprogram Bobbert to make him less dangerous. Each of their methods fail as Bobbert finds a new loophole, which leads to him still being violent. Eventually, though, they find the seemingly perfect command, which is to protect all the living things at all costs. But there's a reason I said seemingly, because Bobbert realizes that the biggest threat to all living things is mankind. So Bobbert basically turns into a nuke and is about to destroy all of humanity. The countdown almost ends until Gumball and Darwin reach him and beg him to stop. This does not work, and Bobbert keeps counting until there's 1 second left, and Gumball explains a loophole to his logic. Since mankind is living, destroying it, it would mean that Bobbert disobeyed the command to protect all life on Earth. Although it was meant for dramatic effect, there was way more than 1 second between when Bobbert reached one and when Gumball finished his explanation, meaning that Gumball should be nuclear waste if it was not for plot convenience. Up next is the worst, where everyone says that they have it the worst, with each of them explaining all of the drawbacks to the demographic that they're a part of. They each say that they can live in the other person's life easily. Gumball and Darwin live life like a working woman just like Nicole, and when they go up the elevator, they literally get crushed by a glass ceiling into paper and somehow survive. The final episode of season 5 we're looking at is The Deal. Richard thinks that Nicole doesn't appreciate the work that he does around the house, so he shows Nicole what he's doing. This includes making them have food fights, drying them with rock music, and most relevant to this video, getting them to cut grass by throwing food into the tall grass, leading them to eating the grass. Apparently, Richard does this every day, and I'm pretty sure eating a ton of dirty grass every day is definitely lethal. Now, we have the vegging. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin just want to take the day off, but everything around them just keeps on bothering them. Eventually, Gumball gets the idea to just tune out everything that's around them. However, this works a bit too well, as they tune out so well that they ignore a meteor crash landing into their house. Even worse, they ignore the alien life forms that emerge from the meteor. It's no shocker that a meteor landing point blank in your front yard probably should kill you. And even if it doesn't, the alien virus that emerged surely would have. Up next is the cringe. In this episode, Gumball and Hot Dog Guy keep awkwardly running into each other and embarrassing themselves. At one point, Gumball says that they need to fight fire with fire, and cringe themselves so much that they can no longer get embarrassed. In order to do this, they go on Elmore's Got Talent and start beatboxing. And when they watch the audition on TV, they literally cringe so hard that they end up in the hospital. But that's not what should have killed him. Instead, later on, Gumball becomes Hot Dog Guy's dad, and they cringe so much that their bodies get scrunched up like paper. And this is what should have killed them in this episode. The Anybody is the next episode, and in this one, Gumball tells Clayton that he can use his shape-shifting powers to literally become other people. This leads to him abusing his power and impersonating a bunch of people, causing a lot of chaos in Elmore. Gumball and Darwin try to stop his misdemeanors, which eventually leads them into the sewers. Gumball then gets attacked by an alligator, which absolutely has his eyes set on Gumball and absolutely would kill him. Next is the candidate. In this episode, the parents have an absolute rager at the charity gala and have left their kids in the gym. Nicole accidentally keeps increasing the temperature of the room, causing the kids to sweat a lot. They get hotter and angrier, eventually leading to war between the students. This leads to an election where the students let Gumball be the leader, and this goes about as well as you could imagine. However, while the students were preoccupied with political machinations, they were actually dying. And as you can see, the eggs became so hot that they were hard-boiled, meaning that the room is 77 degrees Celsius. Therefore, all the kids would have overheated by the time Gumball had even started his speech. Up next is the pact. In this episode, Principal Brown and Gumball make a promise that they will tell the other's girlfriend about the different problems they have with them. That means Gumball has to tell Miss Simeon about her rancid breath. He tries just nudging her in the direction first, but eventually he just says it how it is, and she does not take it well.
And how did she take it?
Well, I didn't have to go to the hospital. The nurse said it would be more dangerous to surgically remove the pencil.
Well, I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me, so I'm not going to thank you at all. You're welcome.
Apparently, Miss Simeon stuck a pencil so far down Gumball that it would be fatal to remove. This would have definitely killed him in real life. The schooling is up next. When Gumball and Darwin say that they don't want to go to school anymore, Larry trades lives with them, leading to both of them having to run Elmore on their own. One of Larry's jobs is a pizza delivery job. One of their customers asks Gumball and Darwin to hold the pizza box in the desert. They have no idea why until a plane swoops down and takes the box. In reality, either the plane engine should have shredded him to pieces, or the wing of the plane should have cut him in half. Now we have the awareness. In this episode, Gumball lies saying that he knows a lot about plants, which leads to Leslie making Gumball do a bunch of plant things, to which Gumball obliges because he has no idea how to do anything with plants. One of the things he makes Gumball do is flying without a parachute. They both realize how ridiculous their whole drama has been, and right before they hit the ground, Leslie releases his seeds, and Gumball uses him like a parachute. In reality, Gumball and Leslie would have fallen face first into the ground. The final episode of Season 6 we're looking at is The Factory. In this episode, Nicole brings the kids to the Rainbow Factory, where she's trying to convince the two senior managers not to shut down the Rainbow Factory. The meeting is cut short when Gumball and Darwin cause a toxic gas leak, leading all of them to passing out after inhaling the gas. They wake up and Nicole says to Gumball and Darwin that they need to press the override button, which they just about managed to do. Similar to the loophole, they somehow get to the button just before they get poisoned, despite breathing the toxic gas for minutes on end. But now, last but not least, let's finally look over Season 7. And there are some crazy times that Gumball should have died here. Starting off in the episode The Astrological. In this episode, Gumball and Penny are prophesized to break up via this strange crystal that Mr. Smalls brought in. Gumball and Penny aren't worried though, as their relationship is tough as steel. Or at least that's what they thought, until Gumball's paranoia after seeing the crystal's other predictions coming true drives a rift between them. Eventually, it's revealed that the crystal is super radioactive, radioactive, and that's why people's hallucinations have been coming to life. This much exposure to a radioactive material should have basically turned Gumball into Chernobyl. The boring is the next episode, where Molly is so boring that Gumball and Darwin basically use her to pause time in order to prepare for their fight against Tina. This works so well that they basically become level 100 magicians and go to fight Tina, where they get absolutely crushed. Literally, as Tina stomps on them, which should have left their organs on the concrete, but they still somehow survive. Next, we have the app. In this episode, people turn into zombies after downloading this TikTok knockoff, so Gumball and Darwin have to save the day. But this doesn't work at all, with both of them in the end turning into one of those brain-dead zombies. So add another one to the count. We've reached the final episode of this video, and that's the pool. In this episode, Gumball and Darwin are dying from the heat outside, so they ask Mr. Robinson if they can swim in his pool. He gives them a big fat no, so they plot their revenge. Richard devises a scheme where he literally drains out all of the water from Mr. Robinson's pool. This backfires though when they all dive headfirst into the pool, and it's empty. This should have ended with their skulls getting cracked like an egg, but if you've watched this far into the video, you know that they end up unscathed. So yeah, it's pretty safe to say that Gumball has come close to death quite a few times, but if you don't want to die, subscribe. That was a threat.